and you're watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru atışını kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Numa. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. I hope my camera isn't gonna do funny stuff because my microphone is right here. But
Ooh.
my
Now I see it. Yeah.
see, I thought it would show up, but now it's showing up.
As soon as you touched it, it's like shimmering now.
Yeah, exactly. Just want to make people aware in case that does some funny stuff. I'll move it a little bit over there.
Did we lose you, Con?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. There you go.
All right. Hopefully, my internet doesn't decide to go out. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. I'm going to try to keep my volume down a little bit because I've been getting feedback from the missus that I'm always very loud when we're recording. And I think it's because of the earbuds, you know.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the reason. But yeah, coming off of a disappointing result again, I would say 1-1 draw away against our Angstgegners. We just talked about that offline. And
the
basically
boogeyman.
Our boogeyman, exactly. Kasimpaşa, a team that we very frequently drop points against. In fact, Sinan, apparently, I wasn't aware of this, but our last 3 encounters with Kasimpaşa, we lost. And, you know, I mean, it's not something in the forefront of my memory, but yeah, you know, when you say that, it makes sense. We lost to them earlier this season, and we lost to them twice last season. So, you know, our last 3 encounters were very negative. Today, we got away with a point right at the dead, down to 10 men once again after a second consecutive sending off for Mr. Tayyip Talha Sanuç, after just having come on in this game, replacing the injured Emirhan Topçu. So a very poor outing again for Tayyip Talha, who's not making a good case for himself to be allowed to remain at the club, I would say. Anyway, my name, as always, is Kambez, and I am joined by my co-host from New York City, Mr. Sinan Schwarding.
Hey, all. I don't know. All match, I was so angry about everything that I was watching, and I got myself in all tizzy, like a negative spiral, you know, even alongside everyone else in the group chat, which, by the way, come check it out, folks. Check out our Patreon and all that. You gain access to it. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, we were all kind of doom spiraling for a minute there, and then we scored and equalized, and it turns out we're getting a result, and it kind of like shifted my perspective on this. Especially now that I've had a few minutes to like cool out. And so I'm in a better place to do this episode. I'm ready for this, folks. Hopefully. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of comments in the live chat, so if you are watching us live, please leave your thoughts on the match in our live chat, and we will talk about it. If you have any interesting talking points, anything that you found interesting from the match, we'll talk about it. But Sina, let's have a look at the lineups for the game today.
For sure. Also, I did maybe want to briefly take a look at, not just, as you mentioned, the last 3 results against Kasimpaşa, but I mean, it's worth noting that these guys have been a royal pain in the ass for a long time. And it sticks in your memory, right? Like, it seems like whenever you need a result against Kasimpaşa, you never get it. I guess maybe we'll talk about that in a moment, but I have like a head-to-head thing which we can discuss. But yeah, real briefly, we'll do the lineups. And as usual, we'll start with our opponents. In goal, they had 32-year-old Greek goalkeeper Andreas Gianniotis. I was going to say Giannotis, but that's not right, I don't think. Anyway, they played with a back three, which has been effective against us recently. In the middle of their back three was Nicolas Opoku, 27-year-old Ghanaian central defender, who he was pretty solid, I thought. Next to him, 18-year-old Turkish central defender Yasin Özcan, who was also quite effective against us, I thought. And next to them, 24-year-old Polish Kamil Piatkowski, who, to be honest, I didn't really notice too much, but it's all right. Moving on to the rest of their lineup, you've got Aytaç Kara in the middle, 32-year-old Turk, who anyone who's been watching the Super League will recognize that name. Next to him, another familiar Super League name, Haris Hayradinovic, 31-year-old Bosnian, and Mortada Ben Uanes, 30-year-old Tunisian. Both of them somewhat familiar names if you've been watching the Super League of late, as well as 31-year-old Portuguese left midfielder Kevin Rodrigues opposite, and this is a fairly new name to me anyway, 26-year-old Ecuadorian right midfielder João Espinosa, who gave a little hello to Keny Arroyo before Kenny came on. I don't know if you saw that, Khan.
On the sideline when he was taking a throw-in?
Yeah, Kenny kind of took the responsibility of being a ball boy to get the game moving, which was actually pretty clever because their ball boy was a slickster, or at least one of them was, I noticed. But so yeah, he was sort of filling in for the ball boy, and he gave the ball to Espinosa, and they did a little hello. Anyway, here's where things get a little interesting, perhaps. First of all, Mamadou Fall, 33-year-old Senegalese striker, once again had a good game against us. It feels like he's done that fairly consistently.
Yeah.
Not that it means anything, right?
Yeah,
we're not going to buy another Kasimpaşa striker, especially a 33-year-old.
But there was
foreigner,
a statistic that the commentator mentioned. I don't know if I remembered correctly, but I think he said that he had a hand in 6 of the last 7 goals Kasımpaşa scored against us or something like that. So
yeah, it's one of those names that like you almost hate to see because it's like, here we go again.
Yeah, especially in the first. He was very effective in the first half, especially.
Did you get that GTA reference?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
CJ.
And then of course, lastly, for lots of reasons, John Keleş, who was a mess, I actually thought, for much of the first half, but then in the second half,
bad,
right? Second half,
invisible.
he started looking like a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but luckily he didn't do much for this.
You know what? If I wouldn't have known that he started the game, I would have thought he came on in the second half. Because in the first half, I literally didn't see him, but in the second half, he was very present and caused some issues for sure.
Yeah, almost scored at the end of the match, by the way.
Could have done better, I think.
And then got taken down at the final whistle. He was kind of flopping, looking for a penalty. I mean, ironically, he missed the box, so it wouldn't have been one anyway. He sort of, but it was also just too obviously a flop, so it didn't get called. But so let's talk about our lineup, I suppose, and we can do a little analysis, man for man, or whatever it is. So first of all, we have Mert Günok, who came off of his worst month of the season for us statistically, which if you covered if you listen to the Schwarting report, we covered that pretty thoroughly. And then he came in today and
Schwarting report exclusive to our Patreon or our YouTube membership, by the way. So click that join button or head to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast if you want to gain access to a monthly Schwarting report where Sinan Schwarting grades the performances of all our players and also the technical staff. And of course, you will also gain access to our weekly VIP podcast. This week, short episode, only 12 minutes, but usually it's around 30 to 45 minutes. But this week there wasn't so much to talk about. So sorry to interrupt you there, Sinan. Just wanted to...
No, it was a good plug. But yeah, I mean, it's also, I think, a short episode to match what feels like a lull in the season right now, which we'll probably get into, when we talk about what this means for us in the standings. And, it actually, we're still in pretty good position, all things considered. But anyway.
Yeah, thanks to Samsunspor, who lost their match, of course. We were given an opportunity here With a win,
right.
would have done some great business, but unfortunately, we couldn't get that done.
Yeah, we had a huge door opened for us, and we stumbled before making it through, which we haven't gone through yet. We'll see how it goes. But still only 3 points back with a game in hand. So anyway, I'm sure we'll talk about that in depth later. First of all, Mert Gunok's performance today, I thought was, again, and I hate to say this, but fairly subpar. I mean, I will say, though, so I didn't like the role he played in the first goal, or the only goal. And then on their offsides goal, which luckily was called off, he was fairly poor with his block, which ended up in the back of the net. So I was willing to give him a really bad grade, but then he made a really key save late in this match that kept us tied, kept us level with them after we'd scored the equalizer. So he kind of redeemed himself, when it mattered most, I suppose you could say. But do you agree with me, Khan, that he was a little sloppy up until maybe later in the match?
Well, I mean, on the first goal, there's a deflection, a fairly big one. I don't know.
But it went through his legs, man. Like, you can't. I know. It sucks.
It's difficult.
It's obviously that. I would never say it was 100% on him.
Yeah.
And frankly, I wouldn't even say it's on the defender, right? You want the defender to make an attempt on the ball.
Of course, yeah. No, that's just,
It's just a lot of bad luck. But it's never a good look when
it's
the ball goes through your legs.
Yeah, it's bad luck on our part, but on the part of Kasimpaşa, I feel like it's a forced error. We talked about that with the red card for
that's fair. Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at this game, the game plan for Kasimpaşa seemed fairly clear, right? Like, get the ball.
Yeah.
Play high balls over the top, get the ball on the wings, and then pass it back to the edge of the area and try a shot from the edge of the area, because that was their formula, and they repeated it time and time again. Their second goal was exactly like that as well.
And we'll get into the stats, but the stats bear that out too, right? They had something like 18 shots.
Yeah, and they were almost
and very few on target, right?
And almost all of them
were
from,
going for.
from either from outside or just inside the box on the edge of the area.
Yeah.
Late cut back by one of their wingers, they kept doing that. And I think pretty much all their chances this game were those exact scenarios, and that is just something that we couldn't find an answer to.
Yeah, and again, the stats are going to illustrate this perfectly. It's one of those rare occasions when the stats do the job, because it's true. Like, they had more than double the amount of shots we did, and I think we had a higher XG despite that, right? Which sort of most of our XG probably comes from Rafa Silva and those one-on-ones he missed. But anyway, let's talk about it.
We did create some quality chances in this game.
We really all in all, let's do the lineup first, and then we'll talk about it. But I would like to sort of give them some kudos, because last week I was, why can't we ever get results when we go down a man? And in every sense of the word, we got a result after going down a man today. Even if it's not quite the result we wanted.
So what grade would you give Mert for his performance today? Because I'd give him probably a 6 or a 6.5. Probably a 6, honestly. I don't think he did much.
Yeah. His grade by Fatma is a 6.3, and I think that's
fair.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, maybe somewhere even a little lower, because I can't factor in some of the errors, like the offsides goal that he basically gave them. They're not going to mark that statistically, but we all saw it with our eyes. So, anyway, up in front of him, of course, was Emirhan Topçu, who very unfortunately left the match in the 17th minute with an injury. It was a bit of a weird one. Like, I don't know if it looked like it was so bad. Like, he walked off the pitch, right?
Yeah, he had stayed down before as well, and then he made an interception where he had to, I guess, stretch himself in a weird way, and then he had to get subbed off. But I think he kind of got hurt earlier in the game already, and that just, made it worse. So it's a big blow for us, of course, now, because with Felix out, we don't have any alternatives. That's also why Tayyip Talha came on, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's the only option we have left, right? Like I think at this point, like it's better to just call up a kid from the academy and let that.
I was gonna
play.
say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if Zainutinov is at like 90%, right? If he's close to returning from injury, you might even just be like, "Dude, get out there, man."
But why
like,
wouldn't you just trust the kid, man? Just give the chance to one of the academy boys.
Well, I mean, in part, look, you know me, like I kind of like Zainutinov as a central defender, but I mean, if he's and if he's not available anyway, it's not even worth arguing about it. Which because he's not, right? He's still listed as injured.
I think so. But even if he were, like, I mean, he's been out for a long time. He doesn't have match fitness. I think you're still better off, just give the chance to a kid from the academy at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would never be against that, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, at least let's see what we have there. I mean, look if it's especially because what we're realistically looking at is a kid from the academy, because I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looks like Zainutinov is not on Ole's list, of preferred players. So I think it's either going to be like Onur Bulut at central defender or a kid. So yeah, I'm rooting for a kid 100%, and that's
but even I mean, look, Tayyip Talha, he's been so bad this season, and this 2 games, of course, like illustrates that to almost a caricature of how bad he is. But like, I feel like you might as well give a young guy like a 19 or a 20-year-old the chance to prove himself, because Tayyip Talha, I think, should be a closed book at this point. Like, it's clear this guy is never gonna salvage his Beşiktaş career. It's time for him to move on. Maybe he can salvage his career elsewhere, but clearly he is doubting himself too much. He is doubting his body too much, his ability, and the added pressure from playing for a big club like Beşiktaş is not going to help him. He needs to take a step back, go a step down, play for a smaller team, and maybe he'll find his mojo again there. But he's never going to find it again at Beşiktaş.
Khan 2.0 says, "Let's see the bright side. Tayyip cannot be sent off next week." Next match.
Yeah, exactly.
We got some comments, by the way.
Very astute, nice. Very astute observation there from my counterpart, my namesake.
Yeah.
So Tayyip Talha for me gets a 0. And Emirhan,
yeah. Well, I mean, how many minutes did he actually log?
I think 10. I think he lasted 10 minutes. And you know what? Actually, I thought he was fine before the red card. I mean, he didn't really have anything to do, but like he was fine. He was passing the ball around, and then suddenly he decides to go on this run through the middle of the park because they're like, the sea opened up like it opened up for Moses. I think it was Moses, right? And
I think so.
We're
exposing ourselves.
Yeah. So the sea opened up and he started on a run, and then like as soon as there's like the slightest hint of pressure on the ball, he panics. He just he drowns in his own dribble. And
now, in his defense, Khan, I want to hear your thoughts on this. So the contact occurs. His foot goes up to make a pass. I think he contacts the ball and it's moving whether it's moving where he wants it to or not is another discussion. But and then his foot, as in the follow through of the pass, goes into the other man's ankle. Yeah. Which it's a stomp, no question there. Certainly a card.
Yeah.
Is it a red card?
I think it's a yellow card. I said this in the group chat as well, and not that group chat, but another group chat. Everyone was like, "Kanye, you're crazy. It's a red card. If that would happen to us, you'd want a red card." And I don't agree, because for me, a red card needs to be high above the ankle. It needs to be a stretched leg. The contact with the studs needs to be.
And it needs to be clumsier and more like not necessarily intentional, but like dangerous, right? And this for me is a case of something that's more incidental.
The definition of a red card in this sort of scenario is reckless play, right? Endangering the opponent's well-being. I don't think this was extremely reckless. I do think it was panicky. He lost control of
For
the
sure.
ball. He kind of lunged a little bit, but I don't think the contact warrants a red card. I think it's harsh, but on the same, I was already pissed at him before he got sent off. Like I was already, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Why don't
I
you?
know.
Like it was ridiculous. Like. And he gets sent off. I think he's a little bit unlucky to get sent off. I don't think this is a position where VAR needs to come in. I'd be very curious to
same.
hear the opinions of the people watching.
Why did it go to
in the
VAR?
live chat? I'd love to hear what people think. Am I crazy in saying that I think a yellow was fine there? But you seem to agree with me, Sinan. I'm very curious to hear what our listeners and our viewers think. So let us know in the live chat. And if you're watching on delay,
And
let
at the
us know in
very
the
least,
comments.
and if you're gonna disagree with us, at the very least, please factor in that we've seen these not be given, or given as yellow cards rather, rather than red, when it's more incidental, right? When there's less like aggression behind the tackle, when when it's less clumsy. So I feel like that has to factor into your calculus.
I also think the follow through is very important. Like he pulls his leg away straight away. He doesn't press his foot through. You know what I mean? Like he's clearly not trying to hurt the opponent.
No, and for me it's a case of where like slow-mo has too much of an impact on a decision as well, and how you perceive of it. Because when you see it at its natural pace, there's almost nothing there. And then when you see it slowed down, and like you see like every part of what the foot is connecting with the ankle or whatever, it's like, oh wow, that looks terrible. And it's like, look, every contact looks pretty terrible, frankly, when you slow it down and like, show the exaggeration and everything.
For me, this was I think yellow would have sufficed, but I also kind of, I don't really understand why VAR goes in.
Why
there,
you do
honestly,
it? Oh yeah.
I mean,
sure.
I
agree.
And
also,
let's
also recognize like Tayyip Talha should just also relax a little bit.
Oh yeah, of course. Like he's clumsy. He's dumb. I don't know what he's doing there. He's panicking. He's clearly not comfortable in his own skin. He isn't comfortable out there. You see it on his face. You see it in his body language. He is not comfortable playing. He feels like a fish out of water. Yeah, like this is somebody who came back from a very serious injury and lost all confidence in his own ability. And you can see it every time he steps on the pitch. It's sad to see. It's really sad because if you see him before his injury, he was such a good player. I really, really like Tayyip.
We're being asked to take the graphic down. All right, let's quickly go through the lineup before we do. Sorry.
Well, you have the lineup, right? Let's take the graphic down, and you can run through the lineup.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And sorry about that, guys. We try to do the lineup, use the lineup as our means of sort of analyzing players individually. Is our internet connection okay? Sorry. Anyway. So, Gabriel Paulista is the other central defender who we haven't mentioned yet. I'll just mention their FOTMAP ratings too while we're doing this to help our analysis, perhaps. Mm-hmm. He had a pretty high rating, a 7.6.
Yeah, it was good.
I did too, and I think people will hold that goal against him, the deflection, but like you can't, right? Like
that was Svensson's deflection.
Oh, was it? I thought that was Gabriel Paulista.
Svensson.
Either way, though, you can't hold that against either one of them, right? Like,
no.
You want to see a player making an attempt on the ball.
Exactly. You want to see players throw themselves in front of a ball, and sometimes that's gonna end up haunting you, but more often than not, it's gonna prevent goals than cause them. So you want players to do that, right?
Exactly. Sorry, I just wanted to quickly put this in the chat. I want to know what people's thoughts on the red card were.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought, guys. Did you think it was right or not?
So, fullbacks, of course, Arthur Masuaku rated very highly, an 8.0, and Jonas Svensson, a 7.4, despite getting a yellow card, which is going to take some points off of you statistically. So, statistically, a solid game from both.
It's pretty high for Masuaku, I thought.
I do too. I would, because especially late in the game, he kind of switched off a couple times.
Scary moments with Jan there, where he could have easily caused us to concede a goal because I think he was being a little bit arrogant, a little bit, he was being Masuaku, right? Like, kind of underestimating the opponent maybe a little bit, or I don't know. Yeah, he could have cost us a goal in the second half, I think. Not that he was bad.
No, and he was doing some very good things as far as like bringing the ball up, especially when we were down a man. Like
some
he was
good
very
retaining
useful.
retaining possession. Yeah. He did that well for sure.
And even some decent, not interceptions, blocks. He had some pretty decent blocks at some point in the game. But yeah, like late in the game, he sort of hit the snooze button. I noticed when Gedson was doing that sort of fancy dribble move in the back to try to evade their entire attack alone, like. Our whole team, it wasn't just Masuaku in his defense. Our whole team was kind of just like watching, Gedson, and almost left him alone, which almost resulted in a goal against us. But Masuaku was the closest, and he was, in La La Land. I don't know where he was mentally there. But all in all, like pretty decent performances from all. I mean, really, what's a shame is that the defense fell apart at one spot where Emirhan was injured, and then Tayyip Talha, half screwed by the ref, half screwed by his own, as you say, inadequacies, his own.
Not the ref, right? It's VAR that's decided to.
Right, or whomever. Yeah. Well, and I refer to that guy as a ref too.
Yeah.
What is his official title? The VAR ref? No, the VAR. What is he? Yeah.
I think it was.
Is he not a ref?
I think it was a Spanish referee today, Iglesias, I believe his name was.
Probably one of these. Yeah, that's not a corrupt league over there. No, just kidding. No, I mean I don't know if there was any corruption. I just think it was a bad call. But moving on. And again, I think it's like that slow-mo can alter your perception. Anyhow, our midfield, interestingly rated very highly. Again, Gedson an 8.1. Of course, he scores a goal, so that's influenced by that. He scored the penalty there. Oxlade-Chamberlain, a 7.2. He came off late in the match.
I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he was actually pretty good. I mean, he got tired late in the match. In that period where guys were sort of snoozing on the ball.
I feel like he's kind of the punching bag from our fandom, and also you see that in our group chat sometimes. I feel like in the community chat that people are like, oh, why does he keep starting Ox? But like genuinely, I think he's the best option right now. Like when he was showing fatigue late in the match, I'm like, oh man, Ox should come off. And then I'm looking at the people we have on the bench, and I'm like, there's only
he
Sally.
should come up for like I don't want to see Amir out there. No. Sally, like it was like this could have been the kind of match where Sally could make an imprint with like a long ball ping just right or whatever, as we see once every 20 appearances, but on the flip side, you're not like, oh, he's gonna. That was one thing that really pissed me off for a period of the Gio era when people are like, oh my God, he's not playing Sally, and it's like, I mean, if you're at a point where you're hoping for miracles from Sally Uchan, like, bag it up, like it's not happening.
Sali's somebody that can have an impact for sure, but he's also somebody that'll play good one game and then ghost for 3 games. So.
Yeah, and ghost in a position where it's really bad for you tactically. Yeah. And then, of course, the third midfielder in the batch, we'll call Rafa Silva the third one for intents and purposes, as our 10. And he got a 7.1 rating, which is despite not scoring 2, I don't want to call them sitters, but... I mean,
Tree,
are they sitters?
Tree, if you think
that's
about
right.
it,
There is
because in the start of the game, I don't know exactly what happens there, but like he gets played through really nicely, and I feel like if he just plays that ball out in front of him a little bit and just relies on his pace, he's one-on-one with the keeper. But I don't know, was it the pitch? Did the ball take a little bit of a bump in the grass? I don't know exactly what happened there, but it feels like he could have done a lot more with that position. Then he got played through. I think the only good play from a man we're going to talk about in a little bit, Chiro, like played him through really nicely in the first half.
Beautiful. That's an assist. That has to be an assist.
That deserved to be an assist for sure. I mean, he didn't do much good in this game, but that was really a good play from Chiro. And yeah, Rafa there should have scored. Then in the second half, I think he. Is that
one-on-one?
Is it in the second half that he hits the post, or is that in the first half? Is that on the Chiro pass? I don't remember.
That was the Cheeto pass.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then in the second
But then he
half,
had the one-on-one in the second half.
Yeah, in the second half you have the one-on-one situation, which I think might have been offside, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been offside, but like that's something you need to bag. I mean, this is Rafa, right? Like we know this. This is Rafa. You know, scored a fantastic goal last week against Galatasaray in a really big, important game. And he has scored so many great goals this season. He has assisted goals. You know, he's been fantastic. But he's also missed really big chances. And like, this is a match where I thought, you know, when he misses chances, I'm not that angry because he gets into those positions. And that's a quality that very few players on our team have. So I'm very happy that we have Rafa, even if he doesn't convert. But what I didn't like about Rafa today was his passing game. He got dispossessed a lot. It wasn't his day. He just was sloppy. I thought Rafa played a pretty poor match. He could have scored 3 goals, and I still would have said he would have been poor because his passing and his... Yeah, it just got dispossessed too easily today. He was sloppy in the midfield, and that is dangerous, especially when you're down to 10 men. And yeah, just wasn't
I
his
will
day.
say this. I think that this was a bit of a potato field scenario
Yeah,
as far as the pitch, and I think that can impact a guy like Rafa more than most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know if you noticed at the end that Haris Hajdinovic had a beautiful cross put on a platter for him, and he sent that shot like out of the stadium. I suspect, you know, it was, and he looked down at the pitch and was whining about it. And I was like, well, talk to your own club about that, my friend.
You know, in the first half when he had that first ball played through and he fell, I at first I thought like he was angry that he didn't get a penalty, but then I think either he was angry at himself or he was angry at the state of the pitch. That was my thought. And
there were a lot of those bright green spots that, you know, I think were probably paint.
Yeah,
you know,
I
painted
don't know,
on.
like it almost felt like the grass was a little bit long. Also, Kasimpaşa was playing a lot of long balls, high balls. They weren't playing over the ground as much. I think that was all deliberate. I kind of feel like the pitch was like.
It was
like
12th man.
Like Bursa, yeah, but like Bursaspor very intentionally used to do that against us. Like they'd let their pitch go to shit, and then like 2 weeks later they'd play someone else, and their pitch would look
very good again.
Not pristine, but look good. And then against us, they had like, you know, bald spots painted in mud pools and stuff like that. Like, so I don't know. Maybe Kasimpaşa plays a little bit of the same game there, but I definitely think that the pitch
I will
wasn't
say
great.
that, you know, all, you know, 38 of their fans in attendance were really loud and unruly, and you know they do seem to have some sort of axe to pick with Beşiktaş. I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah, I mean since like 2012, when Fikret Orman became the president of the club, I think there were some old board members from the Demirören era. They went to Kasımpaşa.
that like Skip Town. Yeah, but that's when they got Babel and stuff, right?
And then they got Babel, they got Dong. They invested quite a bit, and they also it feels like ever since then, like they've been putting a really big emphasis on the Beşiktaş games. I think they get nice bonuses and stuff for performing well in those matches. And there's definitely there was at one point, I don't know if it still is, but there was definitely at one point a very deliberate movement within that club to bother Beşiktaş. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and I wonder if for these other Istanbul clubs, if their perception is like, since we're like the third largest club in Istanbul, that we're like the kind of quote unquote low hanging fruit, which is absurd given the gap between us and these others. You know, talk about delusions of grandeur, but I mean, it's not happening, you dumbasses.
Also worth mentioning,
find another track.
Kasımpaşa aren't the only club that plays on this pitch, right? Like I believe Eyüpspor plays there as well.
There you go.
Plays some matches at least there. I don't know, maybe they play some other games in the Olympiad, but like that's not good for a pitch either, right? Like two teams playing the same pitch. I definitely think that was.
Anyway, 3 more players to discuss. We have some wingers, which I put in quotation marks. João Mário, who had a 6.3 rating, despite only playing for one half, though.
Yeah, got yoinked early
stat-
again.
Yeah, those stats are cumulative, and so that's going to
was-
impact the lower rating.
I thought he was good in the first half.
I hate. Look, I like Ole Gunnar Solskjær quite a bit, but
Yeah.
I hate his tendency
Yeah.
of taking out João Mário so fast. I don't get it, and I also hate the tendency for playing Mustafa Hekimoğlu so much. But that's like we could go there later.
That's a lack of
but yeah,
options, I think. That's a lack
No,
of
of course,
options.
I agree.
But like taking João Mário out,
But-
I mean, I
Let's just real quickly though, before you talk, because you know, as far as lack of options go, we should at least acknowledge that the emergence of Mustafa Hekimoğlu as his like go-to guy off the bench, you know, Semih Kılıçsoy has become persona non grata.
well,
at the
he's
club.
suspended, Sinan. He's suspended.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, he didn't come on in the cup either, so I mean, there does seem to be something there, but
He did come on in the cup. Him and Chiro both came
did
on.
he?
Yeah.
so I'm just talking out of my ass is what's actually happening here.
Yeah. Just
I'm actually glad about that. I'm glad about that because, you know, this was a match where I would have liked to have seen him come on, and I guess I forgot Yeah, it's right because he had that stupid card at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Anyway. What is happening? Gap is unimportant. Our stature is so high. Cannot believe to hear these things. I'm not sure what Atzel
That's
John's
about
talking
your
about.
comment about the Istanbul, the small Istanbul clubs trying to.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously it's delusion. That's what I meant by delusions of grandeur.
Yeah.
They're not even as big as most Anadolu clubs, right? Like they need to like focus on what they should be focusing on. But like it is, and I think he's probably echoing my frustration with them.
Yeah, but I think that's
this type
more
of
like
shit.
a personal ego gripe from certain people who were at that club at one time or another. I don't know if they're still there, but yeah.
Yeah. But it sucks. And by the way, Atheljan, as far as recency bias goes, what the fuck is going on in New York City right now? I feel like there's been a siren. Maybe it's like parked out front. Well, there's no sound, Con. Womp womp womp.
No sound. My microphone is picking up sound and I'm not muted, so.
Nor am I. Maybe Grey Wolf hit the mute button.
I don't know. You should be hearing me.
Anyway, so what were we just talking about? The Kasimpaşa and the sort of delusions of grandeur, I suppose.
Let's go on with the lineup.
Yeah, who cares about that stuff? I will say I've been waiting for Kasimpaşa to get relegated for like it feels like a decade. I don't know why the hell they keep clinging into. Get the hell out of here! Express.
To be fair to them, like
no, they're not as
their
bad
club
as some
is
of the
ran decently with like they always manage to find a couple of decent players, right? And they have an okay.
No, they've had a lot of luck with like South Americans. Remember that like Nuno da Costa guy.
Well, he was suspended for this game.
Like, but he scored like 6 goals against us in 3 games or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so João Mário, sort of an incomplete. I'll give him grade-wise. Now we go to Ernest Mucci.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on him? For me, he was a complete ghost in the first half to the extent that I remember him receiving a pass in like the 38th minute, and I was like, "Holy shit, Mucci's playing!" Which is.
I don't know. I thought it was okay.
In the second half, I thought he was really good, actually. And he did some... Like, right when he got taken off, I thought he was actually kind of asserting himself into the match more than he had been for the rest of it. And so I was kind of, not too fond of that decision there either. But, I don't know. I guess maybe I was not really checked in that much in the first half. But I thought
he was okay. I thought he was alright. I thought he was alright.
He got a 6.3 rating, same as João Mário, despite playing much more of the match.
I don't think he really created much, I guess. And, if you don't create anything as an offensive player, I think your rating's going to suffer. I don't think he was bad. Like, he didn't get dispossessed a lot that I can recall. I think his passing was okay. all in all, I thought he was alright, but like, of course, you know, like our offensive line is just not good enough. Like, we're gonna talk about it in a second, but we essentially, our striker he's not present. In this match, we didn't even have an actual winger. Like, Rafa didn't have his day. Mucci didn't really put his mark on the game. João Mário, I thought, was okay. But, like, all in all, also in the second half, like, Rasica came on. I thought he wasn't good. Ole Gunnar Solskjær, after the match, said that was full of praise for the guys that came on, Hekimolo, Rasica. And I know he's, you know, he's saying kind of what he, you know, has to say, but...
Rasica almost gave up 2 goals, like, as soon as he came on, which was weird. Like, I don't know if you remember that. He gave away a pass where he went down looking for a foul, and it very nearly resulted in a goal. And then I think he had a hand in the offsides goal.
Maybe. I just don't understand why he doesn't give Keny more minutes. Granted, I mean, he came on. It's not like he did all that much, I think, when he came on. But, like, I'm so tired of Rasica, you know, and I'm so tired of not having a proper winger. Like, why don't you just give this kid a run in the team? Just, I don't know. I feel like you can't really go worse than Rasica anyway. And, like, Mucci, like I said, I thought he was alright, but, like, it's not like he put his mark on the game either. So maybe just, you know, give Keny like a couple of games. Let's see what he can do.
And in Keny's defense, like, he received the ball well. His touch was really good. He kind of got rid of the ball quickly. His passes were all accurate. Like, he didn't really put a foot wrong in this match. Whereas Rashica, like I said, damn near gave them 2 goals as soon as he came in, which was frightening. I mean, let's wrap this thing up as far as player analysis goes. Finally, we have to talk about Ciro Immobile, and then maybe you know, Mustafa Hekimolo.
Maybe one good touch. One good touch, right? Like that pass to Rafa was brilliant to play Rafa through. But other than that, there was a moment where he received a nice pass in the box and he can't control it. There were a couple of bad passes, a couple of bad touches. He pressed, he worked, but it just wasn't good. I've defended him a lot this season, but this was just a bad performance from Ciro, and you can't defend it. You can't justify playing him when he's this bad. Then you might as well just start with Mustafa Hekimolo, because I think Mustafa Hekimolo, he came on. Was he good? Not really, but he runs, he works. Sometimes he accidentally does something right. I feel like that's how I feel like with Mustafa. Like, when he does something right, it's usually accidental. There's a couple of moments where I'm like, oh, Mustafa, what are you doing? Where's your football IQ? Like, you're so unaware of where your teammates are. But yeah, and then you have those couple of moments, Ciro does have that intelligence. He does have that IQ, that football IQ, and that's, you know, the result is that pass through to Rafa. But it's not enough, you know. Like, he needs to do more. I feel right now like we play without a striker. We play with 10 men.
1 second.
And the same thing can be said when Simi is playing. He doesn't really have much of an impact. Mustafa. We really desperately need a good striker in the summer. That needs to be our main priority, I think. And we have a lot of priorities this summer. But the striker, I think, should be the first thing that we bring in. And we need more than one. And if you look at that, for example, that Kevin Carlos guy that we were looking at in the summer, you know, I think that...
Oh, the Servette player, was he?
Not Servette, but I mean, I think that could have been somebody who we definitely could have used. He went to Basel. I don't know how he's doing there. I checked it a couple of months ago. But yeah, it's let's see if I can find him. Yeah, Kevin Carlos Basel here. Let's see. Yeah, 10 goals for Basel in 28 matches.
Oof, we could have used that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but he was cheap. You know, I think he was going to cost us about 2 million. He would have not had a really high wage. That's
and not to be a dick, not to be a dick about it, but like how many goals? Like 10 goals is more than Semi and Mustafa have combined.
Yeah. I mean, that if we would have gotten him, then I think we would have had a decent second striker, and then we can look in the summer. We can look for the Onuachu or whatever. But now we're in a situation, I feel like, where in the summer we don't just need a first striker, we also need a good second option.
Yeah.
And we don't have that right now because, we don't, essentially right now we don't have a striker. Chiro needs to go. That's unfortunately a failed experiment. Looked good early on. I think he really fell off with his injury towards the halftime of the season, and he just hasn't come back. And I think he's kind of one of the players right now who maybe he's already made the decision for himself. Like, I'm leaving at the end of the season. I feel like he isn't 100% in it anymore. Maybe like, I don't know. Not saying that he's like sabotaging or anything like that. I just thinking maybe mentally he checked out.
He's like checked out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big issue for us. We don't have a striker. I think if we just had like a half decent striker that, banged in a couple of goals here and there, let alone somebody like Romulo or somebody like, I don't know. We just don't have anything, right? Like if you look at our presence on set pieces, we don't have anything. I mean, if we play cross and inshallah, we don't have any presence in the box. We just lack all of that.
And what's worse is we don't have. Not only do we not have a viable backup, but any hopes that we had that one of our kids could develop into that viable backup have sort of blown up in our faces, and so it's like a triple loss, right? Like we don't have a striker, we don't have a backup, and our prospects don't even seem to be developing especially well. So, I mean, it's a shit sandwich.
Yeah, I think like with somebody like Mustafa Hekimolo, it's way too early to give up on him, but I think he needs.
No, of course. No, I'm not saying no. Even Semi to some extent, man.
Yeah, of course.
Who knows? Who knows?
No, you can't give up on either of those. But like, I think
it's just been a shit season for their development.
Mustafa is somebody that needs to be loaned out, needs to get one or two seasons on loan, like Demirege, for example. And I think Simi, he needs the opportunity to play in a team that functions well. And maybe
By the way, is this true? Grey Wolf says he does seem checked out, especially since his family moved back to Italy. Did they?
Yeah, his family moved back. They moved back to Italy because apparently they couldn't find a school for the kids.
Man, that's he's a family man. We've joked about people being family men. Like, that is not good.
Yeah, it's gonna have an impact on him.
Really,
but you know what? I mean, and this is not nice to say, but it might be an advantage for Beşiktaş because this might actually make it easier for us to get rid of him in the summer without having to buy out his contract. He might be he might be quite eager to get out of it. So it might end up working in our advantage. But I mean, no ill will for absolutely not, but it just hasn't worked out, unfortunately.
No, clearly not. No. Clearly not. I was saying in the Schwarting report that if he can somehow salvage enough of the season to get like 4 or 5 more goals, over our last 10 matches. He'll end up with, a pretty decent tally. It'll probably be quite easy to get rid of him. And then I don't think he can be described as like a flap, in the traditional sense. But clearly that doesn't mean that it's panned out.
If he would have continued how he was playing in the first half of the season, where granted he was getting the majority of his goals from the penalty spot, but I think he was still playing okay. If he would have continued like that, I think we could have said at the end of the season, it didn't work out, but it wasn't. It was
a fun time.
It wasn't entirely terrible, but at this point, I think we're getting to the cutoff mark of this was a really really big bad flop for us, especially if you take into consideration what he makes and all that kind of stuff.
And I will say, our friend Carlito makes a good point, and I don't know if he means to say it as a defense of Ciro, but in a way, I think it might kind of be. So he says, imagine being a top scorer 3 times in Serie A, and your current manager decides to play a 4-6-0, false 9 formation, subs you after 45 minutes for a 17-year-old, and suddenly you have become a third-tier striker. And I think, I don't know, Udal, if you mean that as like imagine being that bad, so fast or whatever, but like, we also have to consider what that's probably doing to his psyche, right?
Yeah.
Like he must be kind of, as far as being checked out, right? Like he's probably like, what can I do at this point if that's how they feel about me?
I say so often on here how important confidence is for a football player, and even somebody,
especially a striker,
and especially goalkeepers. But even if you're Ciro Immobile, and I think he's been the top scorer in Italy 4 times, and once in the Serie B, I believe. Even if you're a player like that who's won the Golden Boot in Europe, even for those people, confidence is everything. And especially when you get a little bit older and you start doubting yourself a little bit. Can I still do this? Do I still have it? It's a slippery slope. And I think that's kind of what Ciro has been experiencing for the last couple of years, because it isn't a sudden thing for him. Like the last 2 years at Lazio were tough for him as well. I think he only scored like 7 goals last season. Granted, he had some injuries. But, I think he's been on that slippery slope and on that decline for a few years. And that's one of the main reasons that Kartal was so opposed to the transfer. I mean, I think if Ciro would have scored, 25 goals 2 seasons ago and 18 goals last season, I don't think Kartal would have said, oh, this is a bad move, just based on his age. But, I think...
And for our listeners, if you want a sort of testament to Kartal's good nature as a human being, right? He could have been doing an I told you so campaign for the last few months, but he's been a decent fellow as far as not hype getting on that train.
We want Beşiktaş to succeed, right? And we don't want to be right. We don't want to be right about a player that we weren't certain about. We want the player to do well, and we want them to prove us wrong. My initial reaction to Ciro also wasn't very positive, but I allowed myself to, I talked myself into,
same
into it.
No, and I think our logic was sound, that we needed to fill out a squad with some core veteran leaders, right? That the logic is, in a vacuum, I think absolutely clear, and there's no shame in attempting it. The only thing that it's a shame about is that just didn't seem to work out very well. No. But there's so many other factors, right? I don't even know if it's entirely on Ciro, right? There's so many things. You talk about what it is that affects a player's confidence, right? It's not like he just lost it, right? I mean, his performances were impacted by a terrible team that couldn't get him any opportunities for months, right? Even to this day, we only have half a winger out there most of the time. So,
but now we are creating chances, though. It's still not for him, but in the first half of the season, I really felt like, okay, we aren't utilizing this guy properly. We aren't feeding him at all. But like the last couple of, last month or 2-3, like he just hasn't been good. And then, I don't know. And then when he does rarely get a chance created for him, he doesn't do well with it. And that's his confidence, I think, sinking into his boots. And that just shows you that a natural-born goal scorer like Ciro Immobile, which he really, really is, even for people like that,
Attila Jan says, Immobile has been bittersweet, like a Negroni, which, and just like the Negroni, is sort of the most popular drink of like the last few years, and not so much at the moment. No, I'm kidding. I was on a Negroni kick last year, so
I have no idea.
But I'm not in 2025.
No.
Oh, it's a delicious. It's a cocktail. It's got Campari and vermouth and a gin.
But my go-to cocktail is Sex on the Beach, and I'm not saying that for a laugh. That is genuinely true. It is my go-to cocktail.
That's funny. Yeah, you like the fruity ones.
Yeah, I do.
This was like a big internet Anyway, forget it. Atilcan also, though, to follow up that last point, he said Chiro is also a good example of how we are moving away from the former transfer agenda. You cannot just lock down 1 or 2 Bomba transfers and win the league.
Well, you know
yeah,
what?
that's absolutely true.
Well, I don't...
I mean, maybe you can if you have the rest of your team built out properly, right?
Yeah,
but like when you don't even have, when you only have, I should say, like 7 legitimate starters, then yeah.
No, but I think
problem.
if Chiro would have been of the caliber of Rafa Silva in terms of impact, I think we would be in a much better position right now. So I don't necessarily think that's true, but I think, you know, Chiro has just not worked out. I think if Chiro had worked out and he would have been on 25 goals at this point, or 20 goals, whatever, I think things would be very different, you know. But that's like the thing with Rafa. Rafa came off of a career season. He had 37 goal contributions last season in 52 matches. 37. That's insane, you know. And Chiro, on the other hand, I think he had 7 or something like that. But Chiro did not come off of a career season. Rafa did. So I think even moving forward, obviously we need to, our transfer policy needs to be very different than it has been in the past. We need to focus more on hungry young players. They don't need to be 18 or 19 years old like Elan and Keny, but they need to be in their primes. You know, they can be somebody like 23, 24, 25. You know, but they need to be in their physical primes. They need to be hungry to take that next step in their careers. And then you can get a guy like when an opportunity presents itself where you can sign a player like Rafa Silva, who is coming off of a career season in terms of statistics, then you can make that exception if you're financially healthy enough. But obviously, this should not be your main transfer policy, because, you know, a guy like Rafa Silva being out of contract and not being picked up by a top 5 league and not being picked up by the Saudi league, that sort of situation will not present itself very often. So I think with Rafa, that's something you had to do that. That was a chance that you couldn't miss out on. But Chiro, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because part of why you bring in a Chiro is because you have these 2 talented young Turkish strikers who you also kind of hope, I suppose, he's going to be, you know, you know, it's going to be kind of an apprenticeship scenario, right? Where he's imparting his wisdom, you know, all of his collective years of experience.
You know what, Sinan?
Onto them.
I think if you're Göztepe and you have 2 talents like Semih and Mustafa, then you can say, okay, you know what, we're going to bring in a 35-year-old Wagner Love to mentor them a little bit and help them develop. I think as Beşiktaş, your first striker needs to be a killer.
Well, and say this is what I was going to say. And this is the problem, right? Is like if you're doing that, then you're also theoretically giving those kids a lot of opportunities to use that experience that they're supposedly gaining from, or, you know, that's being imparted onto them. But we're a club that needs product right now, right? And so, like, if they're not performing, then what, right? Like, should that have been your plan B? And I think that's clearly not. You know, if your plan A is Chiro, and I think we both agree that we should have had a higher ceiling for a plan A, then your plan B needs to be a far more reliable. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be the kids. The kids have to be something else. But then are you even benefiting from having the veteran there to impart his wisdom onto the kids if they're not even going to be given that much playing time? Like, the whole system is a little bit skewed by the fact that Chiro is
even if Chiro
past it enough.
Yeah, but even if Chiro even if Chiro is a good option and works out, the squad building was still terrible. And I've been saying this since the summer. You need a battering ram. You need someone in a match like this where, for example, you need a goal late in the match. You need to be able to bring someone off the bench and that you can start lobbing in crosses. And there's someone that can get on the end of that. You need that. Every big club needs that. And we don't have it.
Yeah.
We don't have it. And that's terrible. Even if Chiro would have worked out, even if Mustafa if Mustafa would be on 9 goals right now, and Simi would be on 13 goals, and Chiro would be on 25 goals, I guarantee you we still would have lost valuable points in matches where we needed a late goal because we don't have presence in the box.
Sure. I mean, among other things too, right? Also because we don't have creativity on the wings. I mean, there's lots of things that we're lacking too, or depth in various positions, so that as we saw happen to Gio, 1 or 2 key injuries and the whole thing can be destroyed. Essentially, the whole project can be.
Sinan, do you want to pick out some comments that we dive into?
I was going to ask, since I've already been picking out some comments that are sort of related to our conversation, maybe we should do the stats first and just like round up the match analysis.
Let's get into the stats, and if there's any comments that jump out to you, I'll have a look as well.
Yeah, and folks, keep the comments coming, and don't worry, I'm going to go back and read everything as we always do. We're just also picking out comments that are like relevant to the conversation we're having, so that like when we do read everyone's comments, it's going to take a little bit less time, hopefully. But anyway, so moving on, these are some interesting stats. And so you might think that white is Beşiktaş and red is Kasimpaşa. That's not true. In this case, red is Beşiktaş. So Kasimpaşa led. And so if you're just listening on Spotify, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
You can watch on Spotify now. So.
Oh, yeah. Nowadays, that's right. But, if you're listening somewhere, sorry. Well, don't worry. We'll walk you through this. So Kasimpaşa had 53% of the ball to Beşiktaş's 47%, which, again, you expect given that we were a man down for very long stretches.
That's pretty low, I think. I mean, I think Kasımpaşa kind of suffered from the Beşiktaş syndrome today, where they found it a little bit harder to play against 10 man than against 11.
Yeah, no, we were much better after we went down a man, which again is like exactly what I had been calling for against Göztepe. And to be honest, we didn't fold, as we sort of already discussed in last week's episode. But I feel like if we'd shown the resilience that we did today, maybe we could have even snuck a result against Göztepe. Although, to be fair, we did hold out pretty long. It was only at the very end that we collapsed there.
I also kind of
but this time, we actually did the opposite. We stole. We actually got a goal and got the result despite being a man down today. So this was somewhat inspired. And to reflect that, Beşiktaş won the XG battle 1.76 to 1.1. And that is despite the fact that Kasimpaşa had 18 shots to our 8, 4 on target to our 2. You gotta keep in
mind, Sinan, that there's 0.75 of that is gonna be the penalty, yeah?
Sure. Sure. That's true. Although trying to think of their big chance. What is the big chance that they missed? So they had one big chance and it was missed.
I'm not quite sure because, I mean, the majority of their chances aren't going to count as big chances because, like I said, their game plan...
Yeah, they were shots. Just look, 18 shots, 4 on target. Right?
The game plan revolved around shots from the edge of the area, so there must have been one of those shots must have been right inside the box, and that might have counted as a big chance then, I guess.
I know Merritt made one solid save, but I guess my point is that that would have probably accounted for quite a bit of their XG too, and we don't even really remember what it was. So, all of that is to say, I think you can really say that majority of our XG came from those Rafa Silva chances, which is reflected by the fact that apparently we had 4 big chances to their 1.
Yeah.
And though they missed their 1, we missed 3 out of our 4. But the one that we bagged happened to be the one that equalized it.
Yeah, the penalty.
Of course, it was a penalty.
What did you think of that penalty, by the way? Because I thought it was cheap, honestly.
Yeah, it was a little soft.
I'm
trying to recall.
I kind of thought that was like a Fenerbahce Galatasaray penalty, if I'm honest. That's
walk us through it. What was the call?
That was on the corner, I believe, at the end. Sali got a hand in his face.
Oh yeah, the hand. Yeah. It reminded me of the Kyle Larin one a little bit. I mean, look, to be fair, the hand makes contact with Sally's arm first and just pushes through to his face. So it was it's one of those ones where if we get called for it, you're like, oh, that's so soft, that's bullshit. Yeah. But also fuck that defender for being so dumb and giving them the opportunity to call it, because it's wow, I mean, it really was. just a little too much contact, especially to his face, for the ref to just like ignore it, you know. And so they have to look at it, and then then it becomes.
I mean, VAR didn't give it, right? It was the referee that gave it. So, and VAR didn't like say, "Oh, wait, that's not a penalty." But yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, VAR did review it though, so.
I don't know. Anyway, let us know.
Clearly, it was enough for them to not overturn it. I guess is what we can say.
Let us know in the comments, guys, if you thought that was a penalty or if you thought it was soft.
Continuing with the stats, our opponent, who had more of the ball and who had an extra man, obviously had more accurate passes. Although they really they had fun with it apparently. So they had 468 accurate passes, completed an 86% rate, which is that's like big three caliber almost. Yeah. But to be honest, we had 390. So we also almost had 400 accurate passes and completed them at an 82% rate, which really speaks, I think, to how well we played when we were down a man. I don't know if you noticed this, but we were really kind of pinging the ball around in a way that we weren't with 11 men.
I kind of felt like around like the 70-minute mark, like I really thought okay, we might get something out of this game because we were hanging in there and we were dangerous at times. You could feel that it's like we're gonna create some more chances. It's gonna happen. And then Rafa Silva misses that big one-on-one, and then you're like, it's one of those matches.
Shit. Yeah.
It's one
Are we
of
just
those,
gonna waste them? Yeah.
It's one of those where we're gonna be left afterwards. We're gonna lose 1-0, or maybe they're gonna score a second right at the end. But it's gonna be one of those matches where you're like, we could have probably gotten something here, but it just wasn't to be. And then, we kind of got, I think, bailed out with the penalty.
There's some questions about whether or not there was a penalty that we did not get on a handball. I think that's the one.
That's at the end of the first half. But
first half,
that's first and foremost. I think that was like ball to hand. It was very short range. His arm was in a natural position, in my opinion. It wasn't a shot at goal, so that changes things a little bit, because if you are making your body wider with your arm, even if your arm is in a natural position, but it's a shot at goal, it's still a penalty. But when it's not going toward goal, then it comes into play. Oh, is it in a natural position? Is it intentional? All that kind of stuff. Plus,
okay, hang on. Let's talk about this after we do the stats, because the people are going to want to see our beautiful faces.
Just a second. Plus, I didn't see this myself, but somebody said that it came off of his. Kartal said that it came off of his body before it hit his arm first. So
does that make it less of a call or more?
Yeah,
of a
then
call?
it's definitely not a penalty, right? Because when it comes off your own body and hits your hand, it's not a penalty.
It's too much of a instant deflection or what have you. So they committed 11 fouls to our 5, which is odd. I mean, it's big. I guess they were trying to disrupt the tempo and be sort of dickheads, which it's standard against us, it seems. They were offside 3 times. Right? They did, and we'll get. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Those numbers should be together. I don't know why they separate those like that. Anyway, they were offsides 3 times. We were offsides once. We had 5 corners to their 4, and I think because, like we were saying later in the game, we were kind of the ascendant side, to be honest. Duels won. We won 40 to their 35, so 53% in our favor to their 47. Ground duels, we won 34 to their 28. So again, we won 55% to their 45. They won more aerial duels, 7-6, so 54 to 46. As far as successful dribbles, and this is kind of what we were talking about, the Masuaku thing, we had 11. I think he probably had like 6 of them. But yeah, we only completed 44% of those dribbles because Masuaku completed 6 of probably like 12. He lost a bunch of them too. And then they completed 6 dribbles at a 67% rate. So they must have, that's 2/3, right? So 6 out of 9, I suppose.
Don't bother with us,
Yeah. We don't need to worry about
fancy math is for Kartal. We don't do that.
That's right. Our savant over there. It was.
And 5
what
yellows.
What can you say about this match?
5 yellows versus 1, and then 1 red card, right? I think
that's how that goes.
Probably, I think Yasin Özcan finished the game without a card. Well, he didn't. He got subbed off, but there was a moment where he just yoinks Gedson when he's broken through in the middle, and that's like always a yellow. And I think there was.
And
like
plus, wasn't that his handball that wasn't called? So I feel like there's a little, when you talk about that
no.
penalty that wasn't
I
given
think
to
that
us,
was a booker.
or sorry, when you talk about the penalty that was given to us, I feel like you kind of have to factor in all of these things that weren't called but that could have gone our way, and so maybe there's a little bit of, reciprocity there. That's like, all right, we didn't give you this call, we didn't give you that call, we didn't give you the other one.
Yeah, but
we'll give you this one.
That's muddy waters right there. Shouldn't
Of course, I mean, by all means, just get your calls right. No, I mean, shit. That's and look, I'll say this about the handball at the end of the first half. I did not see it. I saw that like the time was past. I got up. I was like, I'm gonna make myself a coffee when it's halftime now, so that I'm like locked in for when the second half starts. And then that play occurred. But the beIN USA guy, and not the Turkish commentator, but the like objective like Latin American dude who does the halftime kind of analysis or whatever, he just goes through the stats. He was up in arms about the fact that it wasn't a penalty. He was like, it's 100% a penalty. I can totally see why those players are complaining. Look right there. They like looked at the replay a few times, and like the entire time I didn't even come back to check while I was making my coffee because I was still so pissed off about the red card and the fact that we were down a man. And we were just in a very negative spiral at that point going into the half.
I was really surprised by the fact that afterwards, with the post-match interviews, the Kasımpaşa players weren't even complaining about the penalty that we got. So they apparently didn't seem to mind so much. I thought it was
maybe they knew.
I don't know.
Maybe they knew that they got away with a few others.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll just keep quiet on that one.
Yeah.
But somebody else. Let's talk about the chat a little bit here.
Let's do the chat and then let's wind
down. Yeah, it's getting late over there. So first of all, the Finnish, not Swedish kebab, said, "What a roller coaster season, indeed." Like every game, you have a good result, you have a bad result, you have a good result.
Yeah, very bipolar season, right?
Yeah. We got to get these folks some medication.
I think the club needs to go see a shrink and get some medication for bipolar disorder. Yeah.
Or maybe we need medication because we're dealing with it. Yeah. Carlito, good to see you back, Ural, by the way. We didn't comment on that, but it says, gather Eagles for another sesh. Yes. Group therapy, folks. Grey Wolf, another missed opportunity as always. Carlito, please, can you make sense of it a bit? I hope we did. I don't know how we did for you, Ural. Grey Wolf, I said in the group chat, and we'll die on this hill, Keny does not get any minutes. He needs more playing time and not 10 minutes. Sub him instead of Rashica, or start him and take him out in the 60th or so. Everyone played today. They were checked. Everyone played today. They were checked out for some reason. Everyone played poorly, I suppose you meant to say.
I don't know
today.
about that, though, because I don't think we hang on, or we hang in there in the second half. I don't think we are still in it in the 90th minute.
It had to be checked out, you mean?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I saw other people say that as well, like the team was checked out and they don't show up for these games and that kind of stuff. I don't think that was true today, because I think if that would be the case, we'd be losing this one 3-0, 4-0.
Someone mentions the Svensson line save, by the way. That was Grey Wolf, and that probably is the big chance. And I think about it. That was huge.
That's true.
Moment.
Yeah. Mert misses that one, and Svensson saves it. That's true. Yeah, good shout.
Oh yeah,
that's the big chance.
Take another point off of Mert's grade.
That will have had a really big XG, I think, because that's essentially
the
scored goal.
That's a goal. That's a goal. Yeah,
it's a goal. Yeah.
And it's worth noting that not only did Svensson save that one, but on like the play prior, someone tries a volley right in the box, and Svensson's there and blocks it with his body, so it's not even a shot on target or anything. So that wouldn't contribute much to XG. But Svensson was. If someone had been critical of his performance earlier in the match, and I don't remember how accurate that was. I wasn't really paying attention to him individually, but.
Well, I mean,
hopefully that would have altered your perspective. Yeah, Fall was running a havoc.
Maybe that's what I'm gonna like. Maybe that plays a part in people's perception because Fall kept going over his wing, but I don't think you can blame him for that, because that's usually when Svensson is committed forward, then they played a long ball, and then Svensson just wasn't there, and then Paulista had to catch him and.
Murder Merit. Good to see you in the chat too, buddy. He says my medication is whiskey, lots of whiskey. And by the way, real quick, so during the lineup thing, when the lineup card,
Murder Merit card, didn't they put like tariffs on the good stuff?
He's here in the States, so he can get it still.
He can get.
But real quick.
Yeah, whiskey. They write it differently.
Tennessee whiskey, Jack Daniels or what have you. No, there's a good one. What's the one that I used to like? Maker's Mark is I think U.S. Anyway, I grabbed a beer during the lineup card because like we weren't on screen, and I just like 5 minutes ago I was like, damn, I'm feeling like pretty good, right now. And then I looked, and the beer it's a 9%. Beer, which I was like, oh damn, okay, like no wonder I'm feeling it. I drank that
a little bit quickly. Of a buzz going here.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, what the hell happened here? I guess I didn't realize. I never heard about IPA with such a high alcohol content. Anyway, I'm not even an IPA, guys. Anyway, back to the chat. Where were we? Right at the beginning. Sorry, I went all the way to the back end to find that comment from Merritt. Another missed opportunity. We did that. Hax Honcho. Hey, he's back. Good to see you. He said, I'm late. You were pretty early, actually, relative. He says, I hate waking up to scores like this. Tie up 2 red cards in a row. Now that's unacceptable. Shaking my head. Oh, yeah, the Australians with the man, this time change is even worse.
Yeah. I fully sympathize. I fully sympathize with you guys not putting your alarm clock a little bit earlier to catch Beşiktaş right now.
Although I gotta say, it's almost worse when you wake up to that kind of result because it's like, what the hell happened? And it's like, there's part of it's like, I'm not gonna watch it because I don't want to see that nonsense. But then there's always these doubts of like, what did I miss? How bad was it? Was it, So it's almost it's worse, that state of not knowing.
It must be really difficult if you're like on that side of the world.
Yeah.
Following.
No, the Australians, their complaints resonate with me because it reminds me of like the. What was it? Was it 2002, the Turkey World Cup, where we got third?
Yeah, in Japan and South Korea. I actually loved that because like the games were all during the day. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. See, for me, that was like 5 a.m. I woke up for all of them. I mean, I was younger. It was easier for me back then, but yeah, that was a pain in the ass. And like the earlier games were on at like 4:30 a.m. or something. I was like, oh shit. I'd have to pull the all-nighter for those these days. Anyway. Grey Wolf, how fit Rafa missed that shot? How fit Rafa missed that shot in the beginning of the game? Sorry, I should be better on the editing job here. How did Rafa miss that shot in the beginning of the game? The post one, I suppose? I don't know. That was hard. That would be like, and what was crazy is like the way that it deflected off the post was so like almost robotic. That I was like, did I just get like a glitch on my screen? Like, did that go in the back of the net and like bounce in off the boards in the back or something? Like, it was a confusing miss. Like, I don't know. Murder Merit, by the way, in the group chat had celebrated. He was like, yeah, because I mean, it looked like he scored.
I think he tries. I think he is aiming for the top corner, and I think he can put it just put it on the side of the goalkeeper. Just
Yeah, take it easy.
I don't know. I think he wanted to be a little. He wanted to be a little bit too fancy. I don't know, man. I think sometimes Rafa has some amazing finishes, so I don't want to call him a bad finisher, but he makes some poor decisions. I've said this before. He's not a bad finisher.
What we forgot?
He just makes bad choices.
We forgot about that chance that fell to Mustafa Hekimoğlu in the box.
Right.
Where he just had to sort of tap it in.
Yes.
And he just
Big ass chance.
brain farted it up and beyond to go. Yeah. God, this game was frustrating.
Yeah, we had chances, man.
We should have fucking won. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
Ole said in his post matches we could have scored, we should have scored 4 goals in the second half, and that's maybe a slight exaggeration, but we had the chances to score them, of course, but we probably should have scored, earlier. We should have equalized earlier, and then maybe we could have found a second.
Yeah, should have even maybe.
But hopefully
Wolves-
they'll use this now because at the end of the day you still manage to drag out a draw against down to 10 men. You're down to 10 men for quite a while. You manage to get a draw. Hopefully this gives them confidence for the next home match.
Yeah. Great Wolf said, take the graphic down. He wanted to see our faces, Kanye. You're depriving the folks
Yes.
but then he said, was that a penalty against Rafa when he was pushed down? I don't recall.
Yeah, that's
play.
that's the chance early in the match where he goes down. But I think it's the grass. I think he kicks the grass or something.
He touched grass.
And the ball and the ball took kind of a weird stumble as well. And I think it was the pitch, man. Because like I said afterwards, I wasn't sure whether he was like cussing himself, angry about himself, or he was angry about the pitch, or angry about the fact that there wasn't a call given. I genuinely think he was angry because the pitch was in a bad condition. By the way, our next game, and I know you're going to mention that later, but it's at home and it's against Beşiktaş here, so hopefully we can get something.
No more of these Istanbul clubs with delusions of grandeur. Yet again, right? We always meet these assholes. Grey Wolf, unfortunately, is the best option currently. Yeah, like we said, I mean.
Yeah, he is. And
who else are you gonna play?
Yeah,
Ambir, Hadzimetovic? No.
People need to stop using him as the scapegoat because I feel like every time in the group chat as well, why does he insist on Ox? Who should he play, guys? Who?
And also, in that moment of fluidity that we were having around the 70th minute that you're talking about, he was a part of that.
Ox
he's not bad.
Ox isn't terrible. He's playing okay. His passes are pretty good. Last game against Göztepe, I thought he was really good in the first half actually. And then maybe in the second half he didn't run enough. I don't know, but first half he
loses fitness, and then he becomes a little bit more of a problem, coming back at times. But sub him out then. That's where you.
And let's hope that the fact that we're actually playing him and that he's staying fit and that he's doing decently. Hopefully that'll allow us to.
His advanced stats are decent. So some Southampton or whatever is gonna look at that and be like, okay, let's give it a shot. Hopefully. Moving on. Grey Wolf said no sound. Never mind. So it looks like we fixed that one, Con. Carly just says, seeing it on repeat, it still looks like a stretched leg. Oh, so this is about the red card, Cons. We were vetoed. Carly just says, seeing it on repeat, it still looks like a stretched leg hitting the opponent, potentially breaking his leg. Wow. Obviously not intended. I say red. If it was against us, I would be furious to not call it red. Grey Wolf says it's fine. Oh, sorry. That was the sound thing. Sebastian says, hi, guys. Here, better late than never. Good to see you, not sporting director. And then he says, agreeing with Carlito on the red. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think it's harsh.
Guys, whatever.
But if you guys
whatever
think
you
it's
say.
red, it's fair. It's completely fair.
Why don't you guys just go find another podcast? No, I'm just joking.
I think he pulls back as soon as he misses the ball and he realizes he's making contact with the player. He pulls back straight away. I also don't think that player was in particularly a lot of pain. I mean, could have gone.
Yeah, I think he was hamming it up for sure. Which probably actually contributed to the perception that it was a very dirty tackle that needed to be looked at by VAR.
I think it's a harsh call. I would have been upset if I wouldn't have been upset, but I would have said, how I'm saying I think our penalty was kind of cheap. If that would have been the other way around, I think I would have been saying it's probably a cheap red.
And to some extent, for me, the foot stomp has become almost like a handball, where you see them called in some situations, that's a guaranteed red, no question. And in other situations, you see more nuance, and they give yellows if it's less intentional. Yeah. To the extent that it just like a handball, when it happens, I kind of go like this. And I'm like, what's the call? What's the call? What's the call? What are they gonna do? And sure enough, we were on the wrong end of that one.
I feel like if you're, this is generally how referees judge it as well. If you're both going for a ball, and you step on an opponent's foot or ankle, it's a yellow. If you go above the ankle, it's a red.
Yeah, and if there's any sort of intent or aggression or follow through, that's when you.
And I feel like maybe I saw it wrong, but I feel like he got him I don't think it was high enough.
After the pass. It was after the pass too.
And
It was.
I think he made a genuine attempt to play the ball as well. It's like, you know, like when two
In fact,
players...
he did play the ball first.
Yeah.
Anyway. Khan 2.0. He's talking about Immobile. You're not going to like this one, Khan, because I don't think you'll agree at all. No, nor will I. Worst Beşiktaş striker I have ever seen, and I saw Ailton Yula. You spelled Yula wrong, pal. Eneramo and Veysel Cihan. You forgot Wagner Love, my dude.
I'm definitely not agreeing with that, no.
I don't think he's in that category at all.
No.
And I think Mert Nobre would be in a category for worst striker. I think
at least
certainly
is that fox in the box. Mert Nobre is like a fox in the box, right?
Yeah, at moments. But then he was also not for a while, like later on. But who's the Wagner Love, right? Wagner Love has to be on your list for.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For shitheads.
Ailton definitely worse. Yula was definitely worse. Veysel Cihan was also definitely worse. He was terrible. Yeah, Wagner Love.
That's the one that we keep circling back around on. That guy needs to be mentioned, like, first and foremost. Okay. Sebastian Heinath. So there was another Sebastian, by the way, in the group last week.
Yeah, definitely.
With an E. He says Kenny needs.
Frame him.
Yeah, I know. We could put some slander on your names, Heinath. He says Kenny needs more minutes. There's nothing to lose when the bar is so low. Yeah, and
exactly.
We all know it's just a fact. Like,
exactly. When Rashica is playing this poorly, when you don't have legitimate other options, just start Kenny. What's the worst thing that can happen, right? Like, he doesn't play great. Ooh, well.
Yeah, it's not like Rashica is. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to harp on it at this point because I feel like the way that you were on Masuaku in the first half of the season, I feel like I'm becoming like that about Rashica, and I don't want to like flog a dead horse, but just.
Well, I think.
Man, so, like, did you see? So, like, he came in. No, just real quickly, Rashica. So I'm gonna flog that dead horse. Rashica came in, sent it across. Terrible. First one, like, we had Rafa right entering the penalty box, wide open, intercepted because the pass was too weak. Like, of all, this man who sends every cross into the fourth row of the stands in the second tier manages to send a cross in too weak on the ground. Like, oh my God. Okay, fine. And then the next play, he's running back on defense, slide tackles the ball poorly, gets enough contact that it becomes a pass to the opposition, which results in a shot on target. Like, and then he passes the ball to them on the goal that's called offsides. Like, dude, why is this man playing right now? I don't know what's wrong with him, honestly. Like, I'm trying not to get angry.
Yeah. By the way, Tayyip Talha has posted a post, apologizing for leaving the team down in the last two games and apologizing to the fans and saying he'll give it his all and all that kind of stuff. And
in his defense, we might need him too if Emirhan is injured for a while.
He says, I give my word, I will return stronger. And yeah.
Not like you're injured, my guy. You got 2 red cards.
You know what? I mean,
anyway,
I really want to believe him, but I think he doesn't believe it himself, and I think that is the problem. I think the problem is he doesn't believe in himself. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It's like, if you ever have a dog, like one of my dogs, she was 11 years old, and she always used to love to play the ball. She loved playing fetch. And when we got the second dog, young dog, also loved playing fetch. And then when I was playing fetch with the young dog, like, you could see, like, the old dog, she all she wanted to do was just chase that ball. But she'd turn around to start chasing, and then she'd remember, oh no, my hind legs.
I don't have this in me anymore. Yeah.
No, like she couldn't, like, she was constantly going through her legs and stuff like that. She had issues with her hips, and you could tell she wanted nothing more than to play with the ball, but she just couldn't anymore. It's sad, it's really sad, and I kind of feel to a certain extent that's how watching Tayyip play right now.
Oh God, that's depressing. That was the most depressing. Fuck, man. Now I'm thinking about like the mortality of my pets and shit too.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it is.
I mean, at least Tayyip Talha is getting paid good money, right? Like, you know, and he's not gonna have to be put down or anything like that. So,
we'll see, man. One more red card and we'll
glass
see.
half full. You know.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not advocating for violence. I don't want to get sued. I'm literally joking. Anyway, continuing. Murder Matt. So, when I said to clean house a couple months ago, are we all thinking the same like me now? To be fair, Murder Matt, I think we were pretty much on that boat like by November. So, I mean, for the most part, look, as far as cleaning, I mean, there are, what did we say last week? 5 guys that we got to get rid of. 4 or 5, I think. Merritt was like 11, on the cusp. Right? Yeah, well, yeah.
And then we still don't have a bench. Like,
yeah,
I think we.
Are we talking about getting rid of those guys on the bench? I mean, we probably should get rid of a few.
I think we genuinely need like 8, 9, 10 transfers. You know, we need like 4 or 5 starters, and then we need like 5 good bench options. You know, and like guys like Ersin, Tayyip Talha, Amir, they need to go. You know, Masuaku.
So much. Dude, we just got. How many guys did we get rid of in the last window? In last summer, was it like 17?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was more than 20 at the end because there's a lot of like names that you know, like Badu, Cisse, and whatever.
Onur Bulut, Neji. Well, not Neji.
Man, please get him out.
Onur needs to go. I mean, Polista probably. You want to get rid of him. You know. I
almost, because of how much we already have to replace, I'm almost just like.
There's just like it's gonna be really, really tough for the board and for the board and for the staff to undo years of bad squad planning, because it's not just this past summer. It's like the windows before that. The squad planning has been terrible, and it's just gonna be really, really difficult. And with limited funds, I don't think we can fix it in one window. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you can do a lot by utilizing Keny and Elan a lot more, and by making them new transfers essentially. And that's why I think it's important that Keny starts getting more and more minutes, and Elan needs to start getting minutes as well, and they need to start getting fitted in so that we can count them as 2 new transfers in the summer. Then we
especially Keny. Keny's the play.
Both of them.
No, I agree. I fully agree. Actually, yeah. No, especially you know, because we keep talking about how we don't have viable options in the center of our midfield. And granted, I think Elan might still be sick this week.
He was injured. He got injured in training, I think, and he was out for like
3 weeks. Or not sick. Yeah, that's right.
So he's still out for like a week and a half or something.
So that,
like that.
You know, yeah. So that still isn't an option. In this match or against Göztepe or whatever, but to be fair, like that's someone who you'd like to be seeing as someone who could come in off the bench at the very least.
Rasička is garbage truck water.
Garbage truck water, which I love the visceral description there. It's like the water when you pick up your garbage bag and something's dripping out of the bottom, you know. That's the worst, and that shit that just smells just That's just about where we are.
TT no face with that contribution, by the way. Garbage truck water.
By the way, TT no face. You still haven't described, like, or explained rather, what the TT is. I'm assuming it's not Turk Telecom, but continuing with the chat. I'll keep saying Semi needs. Oh, sorry, I skipped some here. Carlito says Chiro should have gotten a penalty with that hands position.
No, I don't think so. But we already talked about that. That's the one we talked about. The penalty at the end of the first half.
Oh, okay.
Some other people.
Not Chiro. You mean Yasin Uzcan or whatever? I guess. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it was Chiro who was in the. Chiro was the player who. It wasn't Yasin Uzcan.
Brought the ball up.
It was. I think it was. Opoku.
Oh yeah, you said it was Opoku. Yeah.
It was. Somebody with a good tan.
With a good hand. Grey Wolf, he does seem checked out from Chiro still. Yeah. Especially since his family moved back to Italy. Oh yeah, and that's when I was like, oh, his family moved to Italy. And then somebody else said, yeah, they moved back months ago. That was Con 2.0. Murder Merit says Teixeira, Dele Alli, Pjanic, and countless experiments. I don't remember what that was about,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's making me viscerally uncomfortable nonetheless.
Yeah.
Because I'll keep saying Semi
Those are
needs
all-
someone.
Those are all transfers where you're like, what if we could turn this guy's career around? You know, like with Mario Gomez. That's essentially what we did with Mario Gomez.
Yeah.
And we keep taking those types of gambles, and sometimes it pays off big, like with Mario, but most of the time, you know, those guys are in a slump for a reason, you know? And I think that's kind of what, especially, you know, with Dele Alli, I think you take that gamble because he's in his mid-20s, he's in the prime of his career, in theory. But I think with a 33, 34-year-old player, you don't take that gamble, man. That's just... And also, I think we've learned you don't take that gamble on players coming from China in their 30s, on the wrong side of 30. You don't take that gamble on a player coming from Saudi Arabia on the wrong side of 30s. Like, you just don't.
We've learned that lesson a few too many times, haven't we?
Yeah. Not just us.
Although, then look at Fener with Talisca now, and he's finally found his scoring boots.
I mean, you know, he plays good. He scores a banger and he scores a hat trick against Trabzon, but like, it doesn't mean that he was good the previous
True,
games.
and he missed
you know.
so many sitters in the previous matches that, like, yeah. Where were we? Grey Wolf. I'll skip the. Sorry, Ataljan, but we already covered the like Negroni
Okay.
stuff. Grey Wolf. There's no leader on the team. No one to fire up the other players. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, I feel like when you look at the back line, you've got like Udokai. He's out, but he was doing that for a while. Emirhan is a fire starter, but then he goes out early. Gabriel Paulista can be vocal, but he's really more kind of organizing the back line. And then you look at the rest of the team, and who are you relying on in the midfield to lead? Like, Ox seems like a very quiet
maybe
guy.
not even leaders. It's winners. I think we lack winners. You know, I'm a huge fan of Rafa Silva, but I don't think he's a winner. You know, when I think about a winner, I think about Mario Gomez. I think about Dembaba. I think about Ricardo Quaresma. You know, guys that really lead by example and take the team on their backs when they need them, you know, and that's something we lack in the front line, for sure. We lack it in midfield, I think. Maybe, you know, Met could be considered a leader. Maybe Gabriel Paulista could definitely be considered a leader. But, like, you need that you need winners on the pitch as well. You need guys that are, like, really want to win at all costs, and we lack that. I think the closest thing we have to that, to a player that just keeps going, is Gedson. But like, he's not that type of player to then drag you across the finish line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe on the leadership side, he could be. I feel like he is developing into that as far as like talking on the pitch.
I mean, he took responsibility today with the penalty as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you mean is like talent-wise, right? He's not a striker. He's not going to score you a ton of goals. He's not a winger or even a 10 where he's going to create a lot of goals. So it's like, you know, you want, like when Quaresma, right? Like against Helsinki just decides we're going to win this fucking match and I'm going to put this goal, I'm going to put this ball in the back of the net now. You know, he just, like, we don't have that.
With Gedson, I think he's always one of the players that when the team is in a slump, he's always the one trying to step up and take responsibility. And, you know, I think you can't just scoff at the penalty, for example. You know, it's 90 plus, you're 1-0 down, it's very important.
Oh man, I was sure we were gonna not. I thought we were gonna miss or it was gonna be saved because it was like, here's Kasimpaşa, it's our boogeyman.
And did you see the goalkeeper, the mind games he was playing? First, he was standing more to the one side, kind of daring Gedson, shoot over there. And then when the ref blew,
you know, it was actually awesome about that.
Quickly changed. Yeah, the awesome.
You know why that was so awesome though? Was because the ref and Kasimpaşa were trying to ice him, so they were, you know, arguing, wasting time. Look again, you know, trying everything they could to ice him, to get him out of his. But instead, he was using that, as you were mentioning, he was using that time to actually kind of throw the keeper off by changing his position. So he was fully aware, like, all right, if you're gonna give me time and to try to like throw me off, I'm gonna use this time to try to throw the other person off. And it's like, you know, it's like the reverse Uno card. I thought that was fucking brilliant, actually.
Well, I love in particular that he kind of called the goalkeeper's bluff, right? So, because right at the end, the goalkeeper moves to the goalkeeper's left, daring him to shoot to his right, and that's exactly where he put it.
He's like, all right, yeah. He's
Like,
like, I know, yeah. It's like he's like, all right, you're gonna take that step so you can do. Yeah, I know what you're gonna do. No, I mean, he's sort of cerebral in that sense. You know, I feel like he's one of those guys who is so plugged into the way football works that like you can kind of rely on him to see things of that nature. You know, when other guys might be flustered, like Tayyip flying into tackles and whatnot.
Do we have any important more comments, Sian? Because I'd kind of love to.
Want to wrap it up? Yeah, I think we're almost done, actually.
Yeah?
I think we're done. We were looking for a center for... hold on. There's no leader. We covered that. Cantona. We were looking for a center forward, big guy for the position. Suddenly we brought 35-year-old, not related with the needed profile with $6 million salary. We've covered that, but yes, you're right, Cantona. The Svensson line save, thanks, Grey Wolf. We covered that. Cantona says it's definitely a penalty, by the way, the last one. The hand to Sally's face.
I thought it was
the whiskey talk. Yeah, we had the whiskey talk. We're all good there. Rashid says garbage truck water. So they were saying that maybe the worst striker is the fake Higuain. Was it Gonzalo?
Oh man, that is not true. That is not
true. That's harsh, right? I don't think
Federico. I even have
Federico Higuain. There you go.
Wait.
Gonzalo is the original, the main one, isn't it? My brain it's that 9.0 beer, man. I don't know. They snuck that up on me. Yeah, I think we're basically done. He can't even fetch the ball. I don't remember who that was about Con 2.0, but we probably agree. And then finally he says, I wish to believe that it's not Turk Telecom for TT No Face, who laughed about the Turk Telecom thing, but did not clarify what the TT stands for. So we will hope for the best, TT No Face. Khan is up to something over there. We can see his figure in the background.
I'm looking for...
Is it shorts weather over there in Belgium already?
Here. Match worn. Champions League.
Hey, you know what I just thought about?
Can you see it?
Yeah, I totally see it. But hey, Khan, have you noticed that jersey might well be the kind of prototype for the one that we wore today?
That does have some similarities with the red. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah, with the black stripe down there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's a good shot.
Look at that. So there's a little historicity there, and of course, plus we got the map of Istanbul with the star somewhere around here that signifies our stadium. So there's a little twist on it, but all right, that's cool. I'm glad that Adidas may have had some historicity in mind with that design, with this design, I should say. Of course, for anyone who doesn't know, who's on the back of my kit today, none other than Rafa Silva.
A few other ones, by the way. I don't know if you can see this. This is a for Champions League.
Delgado. Is that Delgado?
Yeah,
it is.
Shirt. And I have this one I really, really like. This is one of my favorite striped shirts of all time.
Oh, that's a classic. That's actually one of the, like, typically the Chubuklu is not one of my favorites, although it's a classic, obviously, but that was one of my favorite Chubuklus that, like... Anyway, real quickly, there are some final comments. I don't understand, dude. That's weird. Grey Wolf's comment got censored by YouTube, but he said, by the way, there was a Tayyip, Khan rather, his comment was censored. He said, Tayyip is the leader. He got himself kicked out to fire the team, and it worked. And I think YouTube censored that because they must think we're talking about politics.
I don't know.
Do you think that guy has that much impact on YouTube? Why would that get... Because if you look at the YouTube chat...
Okay.
If you look at the YouTube chat, it's been deleted somehow. Unless he deleted it himself, but that's fishy, shady.
Just to clear that up, that's about Tayyip Talha Sanuç. Don't.
We are not talking about politics, folks.
Yeah.
On YouTube, or whoever is watching. But yeah, then finally, Grey Wolf says, by the way, there was a complete free player on the wing that Tayyip could have passed the ball to. He means
he just panicked. His lights went out. Deer caught in the headlights. I think he suddenly found himself in a very advanced position in the pitch, And he thought
he didn't want to lose the ball.
I can't lose the ball here because I'm leaving a massive gap behind me, and there was a little bit of pressure on the ball suddenly that he got no resistance for like 30 meters or something. Suddenly there was, and he felt like a fish out of water, panicked, and that's just you could tell he's not an attacker. He doesn't know what to do there in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
all right. I think that'll do, right?
Con 2.0 says, "Yeah, no politics for sure. Type out."
Go check out our Patreon on patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast, or hit the join button to become a member. You will gain access to our weekly VIP audio podcast, but actually on YouTube it's also video. And you will also gain access to our monthly Sinan Schwarting, the Schwarting Report, Sinan Schwarting's Schwarting Report, where he grades the performances of our players and staff and the board, everything revolving the club essentially. And there's also other extra content, early access to videos, all that kind of stuff. Future members-only live streams for when we do certain videos focusing on transfer targets, all that kind of stuff. So consider joining us on YouTube. It's $1 and it's €90. It's 99 cents for the first tier, and then you get like nice little badges next to your name and kind of stuff. It's just a fun way to support the podcast. And for $3.99, you gain full access to all our VIP content on Patreon. $1.99 a month, you gain full access there. But you don't get the fun little icons in the YouTube chat, so you'll have to.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to double up on that, but
you have to double up. Yeah. That's why we kept it cheaper.
But if you do the YouTube membership, you get all that stuff on the back end anyway. So if you want to be a cheapo, no, I'm kidding. Look, it's always a pleasure. This whole group session thing. Con says, "Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to see you." Ditto to you, other Con. Look. Ultimately, getting a point against Kasimpaşa, our quote-unquote boogeyman, is not a bad thing, especially given that we went a man down and had to kind of get that point. We had to earn it in the end. One thing I wanted to do, this is a good point to leave things on. One thing I had wanted to do early on, and I forgot. Now we're here. So, of our last, 27 matches against Kasimpaşa, we've won 9, drawn... Sorry. We've won 14, but they've won 9, and we've drawn 4, which is surprisingly even, given that we're talking about Kasımpaşa. We're not talking about right.
Like crazy, because that means that before that they never beat us, because we had. They mentioned it during the broadcast. We have in total, I believe, 27 wins against them. And they have 9 wins against us in total. So in like 44 matches or something like that. So that means like all 9 of those wins have come in the last 27 matches or something like that.
Yeah. It's all crazy. Pretty new.
Yeah. So I mean, that also kind of enforces the point that like their quote unquote rivalry with us only started like in like 2012 or something.
And just to reiterate, so they beat us on November 2nd, 2024. They beat us on May 26th, 2024. They beat us on January 5th, 2024. So 2024 was a year for Kasimpaşa to beat us, apparently. 2023, we beat them twice. 2022, they beat us. We drew again in 2021. So, they beat us in 21. Oh, wow. So we drew in 2021. We drew and lost to them. I mean, we have a terrible track record against these guys recently. So a draw is not the worst thing, especially considering we went down a man and had to earn it. Perhaps one final comment. Eren, you, a new commenter. Good to see you, sir. Because, hey, guys, writing to you.
He's in the WhatsApp group.
Oh, that's Eren. That's the Eren. Nice to see you. He goes, hey, guys, writing to you from... I mean, the reason I assumed it was a new commenter is just because of the nature of this comment. Writing to you from a Guatemala airport.
I think
I've been meaning to ask you for your take on this for months. That's why I assumed if he was in the group chat, he would have asked us there, maybe. But what do you think? OGM.
Ole Gunnar Solskjær. I think that was a
OGS. Yeah, did to turn Masuaku's performance around her dramatically. My running theory is that he was a Man U fanboy from the late 90s.
It
and
might have
just
been.
like, you know, because like, dude, that was the team to support if you were outside of Europe, basically for that like
I
decade.
genuinely do not know, because I think Gio treated him very well and with a lot of respect, and made him very important as well. But he just was very bad under Gio. I don't know exactly what Ole has done to get such a good, consistently good performance out of Masuaku, because I feel like he is not a liability anymore. I mean, he's still like, even today, he had a couple of moments where he could have cost us for sure.
He had some lapses.
But it's not like it was in the first half of the season where he just was a complete and utter liability and he was literally costing us games week after week. I honestly don't know what Ole has done. I think it only just speaks to the man management ability of Ole and his staff. And I think it's a feather on their cap for sure that they managed to turn it around. There's some things I criticize about how the choices they are making, but also I think Ole is protecting new players. I think he is bringing in Kenny, bringing in Ella. I think he's protecting those guys because he knows how difficult
Things
it
are
is,
a little bit,
and how
it's not going to be
quickly
easy to come into this squad and perform.
I think he is protecting them. I feel like I feel like it's not necessarily necessary for him to do that, because I think we are in a position where Rashica is playing so poorly that Kenny can almost do no wrong at this point. However, you know, knowing our fan base, they tend to always be able to find new lows to sink to when it comes to treating players poorly. So maybe he isn't wrong with protecting those guys a little bit too much. I don't know. But when it comes to Masuaku, I think it's just, kudos to Ole and his staff that they were able to turn things around with him. And
you're positive. I mean, that's a part of it. Grey Wolf. He says maybe he's playing for his next contract. You know, to sum up what he said. And there's probably some truth to that too.
Of course, he's playing for his next contract. No doubt there. But I mean, look.
But he could have started that, you know, at the beginning of the season.
And there were already teams that wanted him in January anyway. So I think he also knows like there's always going to be a market for me in Greece and stuff like that, because you know he played for Olympiacos there and was very successful. So I don't necessarily think he's doing it just because of that. I think that maybe his relationship with the club wasn't very good.
I was going to say, and maybe it's in fact him playing for a new contract here because he enjoys playing under Ole, which again sort of circles back to
I don't know
the man management skills of Ole.
I think the chances of him getting a new contract at Beşiktaş are below.
No. I mean, whether or not we're going to give them to him, I'm just saying maybe in his mind, like this is someone who he actually wants to earn the chance to play for again, which, you know, whether or not he gets that chance is another story. But
maybe it's also just, you know, with Ahmet Nurçebi, he wasn't being treated well. The Hasan Arat board kind of continued that trend, didn't really treat him too well either. You know, remember the stuff Hüseyin Yücel said, throwing him under the bus. Regardless of whether that was justified or not, like I think the criticism was justified. It just shouldn't be coming from your president or your presidential candidate, right? Like, you know, they shouldn't be throwing their own players under the bus. Also, the fans were very negative on him. You know, he's kind of made up with the fans. It definitely has an impact. And I just think that Ole is, you know, really good at man management. And about how exactly he's done, I honestly do not know.
And look, these are psychological elements that we can't really, you know, objectively say, like, this is what's happening in his head, right? Like, there's who knows? You'd have to ask him to some extent. And even then, he's going to give a political answer, you know. So, you know, you really never quite know what.
Maybe we'll find out in a couple of years down the road when he does a podcast.
Yeah, I'll give an interview on for those boys at Man U or whatever, because he's a Man U fanboy from the 90s. Anyway, let me wrap this sucker up. It's getting late for you, Con. Poor guy. What's the thing that Scarlet? No, what's her name? The Black Widow tells the Hulk it's getting late, and When he's like rubbing his hand.
What's that?
That's what I'm telling you, Con. It's getting late, and
I don't remember. I still have to upload this podcast to Spotify and stuff, man. That's what I'm.
The tide is low. I don't remember the fucking expression. Anyway, peace out, everyone. Stay tuned for more. We will be back. I suppose next Monday, barring should we decide to air on.
Yeah, we play. When do we play? The 12th. What's the 12th?
We play on Saturday.
All right.
One thing to be aware of is the game starting time is an hour earlier than it was than it was yesterday. So for me, the game started at 1 p.m. On Monday. This next one's on Saturday. It's gonna start at noon for me. So 1 hour earlier than this previous starting time. Be aware. Check your local listings. All the usual jazz. Like, follow, subscribe. Check out our Patreon. Check out our YouTube membership.
Check out our Blue Sky if you're on Blue Sky.
Check out our Blue Sky. Yeah, like that's blowing up surprisingly. But I mean, relatively.
Lots of people switching
blowing up
to,
is
if you're still on Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Beşiktaş Podcast. But if you've made the switch to Blue Sky, go and follow us on there. Sinan's on there. I'm on there. Kartel's on there as well. Kartel and I are also still on Twitter because we're sellouts. But Sinan has made the ethical decision.
But I did it a while ago.
Yeah, you did. I haven't because honestly, there's the Beşiktaş community hasn't followed suit. But I did notice that
it's been a challenge.
Yeah, Haber Kartel has made the move. I mean, they're still active on Twitter as well, but I think they're starting to, preemptively, see where things go. I think that I get the feeling with Blue Sky, you have a lot of people who are exactly like I was kind of like it as well, where I'm like, I'm gonna make an account, I'm gonna reserve my name already, I'm gonna be on there, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna make the switch.
Let's see if that actually becomes a viable alternative. Yeah, and it's moving that direction. So
I am noticing,
check us out for sure.
It's like the polar opposite. Like Twitter's like a lot of extreme right nut jobs, but I get the sense that like Blue Sky's like a lot of people who are like maybe a little bit extreme left, if that makes sense, and like.
One second,
I feel like both.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm joking.
I feel like both platforms don't necessarily give a realistic reflection of.
No, and social media is always.
Yeah.
Social media is all about bubbles. The problem with Twitter was that it just became, it just became a cesspool. Like of just like. Yeah. The thing about like people on the far left is, and I don't even really know where I fall on the spectrum, but like it's easy to ignore people who are too sensitive about something, right? It's like, okay, whatever, you're too sensitive. It's a lot easier for me to ignore that than it is someone who's like yelling racial slurs at me or something nasty. But so
I think they're
check
both
us out on
really annoying.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for me,
it's
going to be
deal
subjective.
Out of every little thing are just like the snowflakes as they call them. I think those people are terrible as well, man. Like.
Sure, but I would never say they're just as bad as like racists and fascists and the like.
I don't know, because I think it's also a form of oppression because they use their rhetoric to silence common sense. I feel like.
I don't want to go too far into this here.
On this not the place. Not the place. But,
I'd counter that in some ways, but I mean, sure. I mean.
The extreme is never good. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And I guess for me it's easy to just like mute certain people from being sensitive. It's like, oh, whatever, they're too sensitive. Whereas like it was hard for me to mute people on Twitter because I almost wanted to know how bad it was getting. Like, are people really getting this racist or this angry about whatever, and so like I couldn't as easily just like pretend that didn't exist because it was something that like
it's really easy. Just don't open the app too much. That's what I do.
Yeah, well, that's not an option for someone who's way too online like myself. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's wrap this sucker up. We are going to be playing, like I said, on Saturday against Beşiktaş here at home. We're hosting, so we will follow up with our next episode. Probably next Monday, but stay tuned for your local listings on that too. And of course, and this is probably the most important thing for me to say, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Let's see the list. Throw it up. We've got Özkan. What was I calling him? Oh yeah, no. Oh, what was his exposure? He had a good new nickname for Özkan. Özkan, don't give me a nickname. That is Abati. Atizan to the Chicago Bull Malak. Paul O'Connor. Nathan, not a Bobert Boat Davis. The Finnish, not Swedish Kebab. Tristan Cray. Michael Berry. Umer, Mr. Positive Kunal. Dara, the Irishman Hensi. Mario, 1 and a 2 and a 3, Vargas. Neil Tari. Sebastian, the not sporting director, Heinov. The vigilante Turk. I want to get like a Punisher name. Who's the iconic vigilante? Nasser, Mr. Manu / President. And of course, Moon Knight. He's my favorite vigilante. And of course, the indomitable, the indubitable, indefatigable financier, the Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody! Brr, brr, brr.